they got rid of all this dates and shit. So much of it.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Easy to do. Yeah. And they teach you to tell on your neighbor and all that stuff.
This is an easier one for me, yeah.
I know how you got out of the field. I figured it was
No. That's what round bale is.
I hear you.
That's why nobody knows what a good square bale is anymore.
I'm old school in the square bale.
Yep.
And I hate it. I don't know.
Yep.
Round bales.
Yeah, round bales changed everything. Yeah, that's exactly. Well, you can't. Well, part of it is you can't find anybody to work and do those jobs anymore. I mean, you can't hardly find high school kids anymore.
We'll still buy the square
Really? Up here in this neck of the stretch, things are
Well, I think he would too if he wasn't kind of a retired guy. He's waiting for him.
You might want to just stock up.
I did. Oh, I know I did. I take it. Every heat test. Bring it over.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the barn. Abraham, my granddaughter, she was like, horses don't make any money. Tell me about it. It's got all these dump trucks.
Well, and that's, I used to be able to, I just got rid of my truck. I mean, diesel prices and surcharges, we don't get anything back now.
And the trucking companies that contract out to all put clauses in their contracts. Our rate is subject to fuel price. Well, not raising the tax on fuel. So it's not that, it's gas prices.
Very nice with us in the hand, you know,
Good talking to you. Good seeing you. Yeah, thank you.
It only, honestly, it is an indictment of ourselves, the election laws that we passed. Oh, I know. If you have all amendments, it becomes more. I think I'm going to I had your Just smile, right? Yeah.
He knows. Social media, I bet about a year now.
Well, I know if you did, you'll hear it from me. Everybody, take a breath, and patient, because it's not going to be long. Those people are going to put their place hard and watch up. Just hold on for about another month, and then they're going to look on food.
There's another bad apple. You know Monty Goodeye?
Oh, where is he at?
Right there.
Right there with the band and that on it. Oh, I remember. So here's my story about it. 3 years ago, State Freeman was doing all the prep, handling and all that, charging, had the room and all that. And she did and we didn't want to do that, so how did we turn him down? Well, we won't accept the offers. We won't press people. I'm like, he's going to do it, And so as soon as I sent it to him, I said, why don't you do something? You come after me, buddy. I'm just a volunteer. And so they backed off and apologized. So they went on Facebook, all this poor me, I got, blah, blah, blah. So he had said something, it's typical of it. 1 hour after that call, he sends me a thing asking and I pressed it into the church. So I'm like, what you doing? Sure, man. So, because he was looking to get the same response, I go back on and say, yeah, me too. And then 2 days before the event, I came in, no shit. That doesn't surprise me. No shit I was doing here. I'm super duper. That does not surprise me at all.
They all flock together.
I smell that right out and around there. This is too coincidental. I was following that an hour later. That would come back Here's what's going on.
Hey,
Now he's lashing out for it. Deflection. Right? So Ashley came up and said, I can't really see because the hair and I see the legs are burning and the side.
Yeah, that's usually what happens in our house in the spring. Dave, oh, Daddy, pull the tanning bag. He seriously did Oh, I heard that. That was tacky. That was tacky.
50 comments. It plays really well.
election September 14th. September 14th. That's the special election.
Yeah.
So who's the Republican candidate going to be? House majority candidate and somebody can win, you think?
There's only 21 delegates, so they can't really interfere. The only 21 is going to be obvious. So we'll, I think they're just going to run ahead.
Feel that a big money for you?
Should be.
I went to the visitation and I got there at 6:30. So 7. Still a big long line. Took an hour and a half to get.
I didn't know. I thought I was gonna. I'm gonna write a separate note later.
Good guy though.
Well, I hope we can hold that.
Good evening, everybody. If I could have a couple of minutes, please. Because of the nature of serving people this way, it's pretty hard to do our prayer ahead of time. So I would like you to take a few minutes and tomorrow, Scott, our National Republican lady in D.C., committee woman, excuse me, total brain, you know, is here to give the prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you all so much for being here. I just want to remind you that our founding fathers knew so well that when you lose your liberties, you lose the ability to spread Christian gospel. And when you lose Christian gospel, you lose your liberties. They are both intertwined. So let's go in prayer. Would you like to stand with me as we do? Thank you. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come together. We thank you that we still live in a land called America, that we still have the ability to gather together and associate, like-minded. We have the ability to still disagree so far. But Lord, we see what's happening. We see the peril before us. And we ask you, just as you answered the prayers of our founding fathers, they trusted you for providence, protection, and direction. We ask you for those same things today. We were thankful that the same God was on the throne then, is on the throne now, waiting to answer our prayer. You tell us in 2 Chronicles 7:14, if we repent, if we call upon your name, you'll hear our prayer and you'll answer them. And so, Father God, together, we just ask you to help save our land. We ask you to bless our elected officials who are here this evening. We ask for you to give them wisdom, strategy, courage as they face all of the peril and all of the headlines and all of the arrows out there. We ask you to bless our veterans who fought for our liberties. Yes, they're endowed by our Creator, but only in America do we see such a celebration of them secured in our Declaration and our Constitution and preserved by our military. And we now see how quickly they can be trampled and overrun. So thank you, Father God, for all those things we still celebrate in America today. We're grateful we can come together, and we're not going to let COVID shut us down anytime soon, ever again. So we stand in those liberties, and we thank you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Everybody says, Amen.
To have Irv Davison and all of our veterans lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I would like to get started. The Hardin County Republican Central Committee Chair, Gene Newton. Thank you.
How is everybody?
Good.
That's good. Good day to be a Republican.
Yes.
Want to welcome all of you. Thank you for coming tonight. We do have a few people that we need to recognize for their help as far as the use of the facility and things like that. So first off, as those of you that have been here for at least the last 2 or 3 years know that Steve and Gerke have been very generous to us in allowing us to use this facility and their beautiful home for receptions prior to this, so we want to thank them. And we also have a host committee, which there are lists at the tables, but I'm going to run through names. Hardin County Republican Central Committee and volunteers. I think we'll go ahead and have any Central Committee people here, please stand up so you can be recognized. Some people may not be sitting down. A lot of people are standing over there in the line serving. So thank you to them for all of their hard work. Hardin City Suite Sweet Corn, which provide sweet corn for us tonight. Hardin County Republican Women. And then Jim and Gretchen Brown, Floyd and Kathy Hammer, Dave Rubo, Wes Ferris, Tom Ingebrigtsen, who also cooked the pork loin tonight. Family Traditions, Jolene and Greg Peckins. Jerry and Bill Dix provided the melons tonight. Kurt and Deb Crosser. Deb fixed the potato salad, right? Yep. And Kurt Groen and Annette Dave Sweeney. And at this time, I know we have a number of current and former state legislators here, and I'd like them to stand up and introduce themselves. So once we get them standing, I'll start at one end of the room and we'll...
Let me start over here.
Oh, come on. Everybody's got to stand.
Where's
stand
Paul?
up. Stand up.
Yeah. Current, guys. He said current and former. Yeah.
Okay, let's start over here, door round.
Annette Sweeney, I live over by Buckeye. I represent Hardin County, Story County, east of I-35, and I go to Grundy and a little slice of Butler. And these two are my partners in crime.
State Representative Dave Deal, my district is the southern half of Annette, so I have the south half of Hardin, and those areas of Story County that she described are outside, east of Hades.
Pat Grassley from New Hartford. I represent southern Butler, Grundy, and then the northern half of Hardin County. And you're very fortunate. You have quite the team here that represents Hardin County. I think we have the longest, what did we decide, Dave? One of the longest, if not the longest, trio in the legislature right now. So we may not be great, but we've been there for a while.
I'm not bacon, that's the real name bacon and everything. Whoever killed the pig tonight, thank you, that was great. Sure, Hamilton County, the district I represent. I come over here to simply just because I like coming over here. It's a great group, and I serve basically from Polk County. Thanks for not going out of there.
Holly Gramso, former legislator. I served at the same time as Dave Dio, Patrick, and Jeff Hoffman. And Paul recruited Annette Sweeney to replace me, so.
Recognize all of our legislators. Oh, we got one more.
They're probably pointing right Randy Facebook.
Yeah, what do you say here?
I don't serve with all these people. Ladies did a great job. I wanted to tell you something. Also, I said earlier that what conservative policy got passed this year is just amazing. Second Amendment, voting rights, to abortion, pro-life policies. I think we owe these people a great round of applause for everything they got done in the local.
Okay, I also want to recognize our National Committeeman, Steve Scheffler. And now I want to bring up our first speaker. This gentleman is largely responsible for the fact that our elections in this state are as secure and as well run as they are. And I'm going to bring him up and have him talk a little bit about voter law and things like that. So, Secretary of State, Paul Tate.
Thank you very much. My hat goes off to the legislators in the room. You've got some of the best elections in this state because we've worked hard together to ensure that. with good legislation and being fair and objective. And it's quite a challenge because you've got those out there who always want to talk about accessibility in elections, which is fine. But we also have to have the other side of that equation. That's accountability. We want to make sure that we can count on it being accurate and fair. And this is a tug of war, and the liberals tend to push and push and push. They don't care about that side of the equation. So we can't let our guard down. We have to continue to fight that fight. And we've done that. The record number of voter turnout in this past election. We saw one of the largest turnouts in a Republican primary. We saw a big influx of young people coming out, 18 to 24-year-olds, voted in record numbers. We saw the same thing in the general election. We have a record number of new registrations overall. And the best news is Republicans outnumber the Democrats on voter registration. That goes off to the GOP effort on that front, and the fact that I believe people are listening and they get the message. So they want to be on the team, and we have to keep building on that as we go forward. And we're not done by any means. We had a very good election here in Iowa. Knock on wood. We're not talking about our system. I don't want to. I think we did a good job here. But what it did demonstrate is every vote is important and has to be counted correctly. Congresswoman Miller Meeks is our poster child for that, if you will. 6 votes is what the final tally was. Landslide Miller Meeks. But it showed when we did the recount, when you had people counting the ballots and comparing it to the voting machine and the process, there was no funny business. We did it right in Iowa. Now, can we improve on the process? Yes, we can, and we are doing that. We passed significant legislation this time around because the legislature was listening to you. When you were asking, we want to know who the winner is election night. We don't want to wait a week, 2 weeks, like some of these other states where who knows when we might know who the winner is. So they stepped up and they put legislation in place that says, my gosh, the ballot's got to be in our possession election night, and that's how it's going to play. And I'm looking forward to that going into the future because it will mean we're not dragging it out. Now, we've got an important election coming up this fall, folks. These are city elections and school board elections. They're not partisan, but they are in many ways. Because what we have seen is a big push on our school boards to truly change the focus of what many of us, I believe the majority of us, want taught in our schools. And if we don't take time to pay attention to that and to elect good people to those positions, we're going to be really, really disappointed when we wake up that morning and see what's happening in our schools, what's been happening in our schools around the country. And the same applies in our cities. This nonsense of defunding the police and things you've seen around the country can't be a part of Iowa. Can't be. So we need to elect good people to our city offices as well. So let's not let this be a low voter turnout, because that's when they win. We need to be out there. So I hope you'll step up and do that. And I look forward to helping you as we go into 2022. We've got a lot of great people on the ballot. Congressman Feenstra, Congressman Miller Weeks, Speaker Grassley, the whole legislative team in here. No retirements, right, Mr. Speaker? We're not going to let any of these guys retire, right? You got to stay. And a lot of other good folks, the governor, Senator Grassley, and myself might be on that ballot. And I got to tell you, the Democrats have spent millions in my 2 elections to this office to take over this office. They want to buy it. They'll dump another million or more in there because they want to control who the referee is of the game. So need your help on all fronts, and I want to thank you for everything you're doing. It's great to be here, eat well, and break bread with a lot of good friends. Thank you again.
Thank you, Secretary Pate. Also wanted to recognize some county chairs, former and present, in addition to myself, that are here. Verb Davidson, past county sheriff of Hardin County. Molly Granzo, past county sheriff of Hardin County. Andy Cable, past county sheriff of Hardin County. Rick Brockmeyer, who's outside cooking the corn, past county chair in Hardin County. And also we have present here tonight the chair of the Franklin County Republicans, who also serves as the chair of the 4th District Executive Committee. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the district executive committees are, they are comprised of all of the chairs and co-chairs in all of the counties in the 4th District, and there's one for the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd also. And they act kind of also as an intermediary between the county central committee level and the state central committee. And so they run things like if we have a vacancy come up on the state central committee between county conventions or the state conventions, they handle the election of both, as well as helping obviously promote candidates and things like that. So Larry Seiler, thank you. Next, I'm going to bring Andy Cable back up here. Andy is one of our state central committee members from the 4th District. He also happens to be our only one from Hardin County. So, and he's going to talk about and introduce the Young Republican organization.
We got a lot done this last year at the legislative level, and one of the key lobbyists and hard workers is from the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Don't you go out that door, Richard. Richard Rogers, I'd like to introduce. About 3 years ago, I had a friend of mine who came to me and she told me that she was all excited about getting the Young Republican movement going in Iowa. And she informed me, and Tori or Justin correct me, but I believe at the time we were one of only 3 states in the country that didn't have an organized Young Republican club or convention. She worked very hard. She got a couple of going, and it's grown just amazing. We now have a number, and I'm not sure how many chapters here in Iowa, but it's a strong presence, and the most impressive thing about it is Young Republicans are 18 to 40, I believe is the age group. Don't confuse them with college Republicans. That's a whole different animal. College Republicans are college Republicans for 4 years, and then they're gone. Hopefully they remain that, but Young Republicans are voters just like all of us who we need. They're the blood and the life stream that we need for the future to keep Iowa a red state and to keep this country going in the right direction. We're very privileged tonight to have Tori Freeze, Justin Lawson from Cedar Rapids. I'm going to have Tori come up for a second and say a few words about the organization and what they're doing and how it's grouped and what possibly you could look forward to help. Tori?
Yep. Let's shorten this up a little bit. Even though I got healed. That's how it works. All right, so force I didn't see coming into the 2022 election. Quote by Jeff Kaufman last night. Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Kaufman, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for having faith in our organization. We have tremendous energy within the state. But I will tell you something right now. I'm frustrated, and what am I frustrated with is what every young Republican is frustrated with. Race, hard work, and by golly, common sense. I mean, how do we all think so differently? I have no idea, but we do. But my name, if you don't know, I go by Tori, call me Victoria Freeze, National Committee Woman of the Iowa Young Republicans. I'm also the chair of the Eastern Iowa Young Republicans. I grew up in a small town, Delhi, Iowa. I was adopted when I was 3 from India. And I tell you what, in that small town, I was the only colored person. But I would have never known that because in the 90s, no one cared. Honestly, no one cared. And I will tell you what, I felt great when every girl in prom said, I gotta go pay this to go get tan. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't. And you know what? I don't have to pay money, so I'm saving money. I mean, come on. So, but another thing is made me wash he owns a small engine repair shop. I had to work to pay for my prom dress. We all had to work. I fell in love. And then, this last year, during the Trump campaign that I helped out, I got called white privilege. And if that story doesn't tell you that I've worked hard for where I'm at now, which a lot of people do, we all have, to be privileged and be called that when you work so hard, that is frustrating. And you know what? That's all it takes. It's all it takes for a young Republican for that one moment to click and be like, who do I go to? Who do I turn to? Hello, Iowa Young Republicans, here we are. We're ready to take on the state and keep it red. And we want people in Hardin County. We want a young Republican group here. You know what? We have some young Republicans right here. We have Pat Grassley. Where's he at?
He's not young.
I think we still need $25. But anyway, so if you're wondering, to become a young Republican, so we actually chartered in 2019, and we only had 2 chapters. To tell you the momentum that we have right now, we have 9 chapters right now. We need Hardin, we need Jackson County, we need Butte County, and we need to keep Iowa red. How do we do that? We need help. We need your guys' support. We need you to tell your kids, your grandkids, that we're here. Follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, email us, find us our website, all of that. You know, and this is really hard to say too. You know, we all lost someone really special not too long ago. I'm not sure how we can replace, you know, Representative John Landon with his exceptional service, but one of our things is that we have to recruit, train, and elect as a young Republican. With a special election in Ankeny that we need to do, and to way to honor him as a young Republican, we need to make sure we keep that a Republican representative. And that's what we're gonna do. So if that doesn't help, if you have some more questions, we're over here, please come ask us. Our state chair, we did just get a new executive committee. Brett Barker is our chair, with Jory Lando as our vice chair. So we've got tremendous momentum and we're excited. Thank you for letting me speak and get to know me a little bit. I'll be over there with Justin and Deb as well if you have any questions. Thank you.
In case you have any questions about the motor that Tori has, she was a very, very good high-level basketball player. So, you know.
He doesn't understand. It's called speed, 3-pointers, and just dunking over people.
And I used to say when I coached to my players that were all a head shorter than the opponents, push it, push it, push it. Anyway, I can't overstate the importance of the young Republicans being successful and getting support. We don't presently have a chapter that really covers the Hardin County area. We have a number of chapters close that we could do. Hopefully sometime in the near future we will get some of your children, grandkids in my case, to have some interest and show the interest, and let's get one going in Hardin and Story, or Hardin and, I guess Story has something, Hardin and Grundy, you know. It is the lifeblood, it is the future. So thank you very much, Tori. Justin, who is also one of the young Republicans, is the Lynn County Republican chair. So these are young people getting involved in what we believe in. And when you talk to them and see them, you feel a whole lot better about what we got going on in the future. With that, I'm going to make one little pitch tonight that was kind of off the deal. If you like our new sign, the flip side of it is the top with Hardin County Republicans about that big. This was an expenditure that we decided to make, and we're doing it with contributions. It's a perfect backstop for a thing like this. We can mount this on a trailer when you have parades in your community and drive it down the parade route. We don't have to drive from Eldora or Iowa Falls to your site. We can assemble it right there, put it on there, and we got a float in 5 minutes, so, or 10. But anyway, it's nice. It's the kind of thing that we need to have for events like this and for parades. And if you like it and enjoy it, we'd certainly appreciate an extra $5 in our donation box to help pay for it. It's a great piece. With that, I've got the job, I don't know if it's pleasurable or how to describe it, of introducing the next person. A number of years ago, the Iowa Republican Party was in shambles, absolute shambles. We had zero money, and this is within the recent past, zero money in the bank. We owed money. We went in with, after the last people were there, we found that passwords had been destroyed, records had been missing, the offices were a shambles. And we found a person to take over as a state chair who had been in the legislature. He's a dynamo. He's a great Republican. He's my boss on the state central committee. He's the state chair. We actually see eye to eye, you know, maybe, yes, young lady.
And he's better looking than Pat Grassman.
Yeah. Anyway, we actually started out, you know, on a 50-50 basis. I think we're probably up to agreeing with each other maybe 60-70% of the time. And since he is my boss, it's hard for a lot of people to believe it, but I actually keep my mouth shut at meetings quite a bit. Not all the time, but quite a bit. It's my pleasure to introduce Republican State Chairman Jeff Kaufman.
Thank you, Andy, I think. Appreciate that. Mary Ann, I really appreciate that comment. That one's got to hurt, doesn't it, Mr. Speaker? And I do want to say, I had the opportunity to see there's 99 county organizations. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, there's some county organizations that I don't think about a lot. And that's a compliment. Because if I don't think about them a lot, that means they're getting the job done. And I got to tell you, between Gene and Dave and Andy, I mean, you folks have a really solid, enthusiastic, well-processed Central Committee up here. You can be very, very pleased with that. It's the reason why you're having so much success. It's the reason you have a crowd like this. And so I just want to make sure you know, from somebody from Eastern Iowa that's got kind of the 30,000-foot view of seeing all 99 of the county organizations we have, your Hardin County group is fantastic, and I mean that. So I think we deserve a round of applause. And also a thank you and a shout out to Steve Scheffler and Tamara Scott. Together, the three of us are on the RNC, and we're going to be spending 4 days in Nashville next week and doing a whole lot of things, but probably the most important of all is making sure to try to nail down our First of the Nation status. So I got good partners there as well. And then I got a special announcement just happened. So last night I was able to, about once a month or so, I'm able to talk to someone in the Trump campaign, or the Trump PAC, I guess you would say now, and to talk to the person that is running that PAC at this point, person that is now the president's #1 person, back and forth. So I was able to talk with them, continue. We have a great relationship. The president is very, very pleased with the Republican Party of Iowa, tells us that all the time. In fact, I got a message on my phone from President Trump, and so we're continuing to work together. No, I have no idea what his plans are, but what I do know is he still very, very much believes in Iowa, and most importantly, in terms of our conversation last night, he very, very much still believes that Iowa should be first in the nation, and that's going to be a huge endorsement. So his person told me to let everybody know
that he still loves Iowa. So this is the first group I've delivered that message to from President Trump. So I've delivered it in Hardin County. And so I think what we want to do this evening is talk to you. You got some fantastic leaders here, folks. And our first group that I'm going to ask the questions of are your three legislators. And I got to tell you, I served with Annette Sweeney. In fact, I'd like to take credit as maybe kind of an influential voice as Speaker Pro Tem to make her the first female agricultural chair in the Iowa House history. I sat beside Dave Dio. Dave Dio and I immediately became friends. We also, Dave Dio, I hope you're listening to this, Dave Dio's friend. Dave Dio and I both sport what Governor Branstad or Ambassador Branstad has said, the universal symbol of integrity for this state, and that is the mustache. Sure, you agree with that, I'm sure. And so Dave and I sport that, and I see a few others. I don't even know this fellow, but I know I can trust him. And that's the key. In fact, I'll need to borrow about $10 with you after this speech, sir. And then finally, Speaker Grassley, I was, believe it or not, assigned to be his mentor when he came into the legislature. I failed. But then I rebounded. And then I would like to think that, well, actually I had nothing to do with him becoming Speaker, and if I wasn't in Hardin County, I'd probably say the opposite and say I made him. But in all seriousness, I served with these three. And so I got to see them behind the scenes. Not the public face, but what they say behind the scenes when there's no pressure for them to necessarily say something. And I'm here to tell you, honestly, so I've been in those caucuses with them, they are absolutely, positively, they are razor focused back on rural Iowa. And that's what you need to know. You already know they're great publicly. You know they're great to talk to. Okay, you know they got a warm handshake. You need to know that you have true citizen representation among all three of these individuals. There is no public Dave Dio and a private Dave Dio. There's no public Grassley and private Grassley or public Sweeney and private Sweeney. They are Sweeney and Grassley and Dio. They are Hardin counties, they are Butler counties, Story counties, etc. So it's it's my privilege to bring all three of these individuals up, and we'll ask them a little bit about the last session. So come on up, you three. Have a seat. Yeah, we want that between you because that is obviously arose between two, I don't even call it thorns, I would call it cacti. So, absolutely. So,
wait. Before we start, you heard an earlier comment from a certain congresswoman. You need to settle this. We're in Hardin County. You need to settle this. You know, they're both from southeastern Iowa. They don't know what good looks are. Jeff Kaufman or I, you guys look. Remember, we do forms together.
Yeah, we do forms together.
All right, Dave, who's better looking? All right, well.
Dave, you just earned yourself. I'm coming back to your corn feed next year for not answering that. I appreciate it. So, I mean, Andy was right, and everybody that spoke up here was right. I mean, what you three and your colleagues did was phenomenal. It was, let's face it, it was Trump-like. They said they were going to Des Moines, and they were going to do A, B, C, D, E. And what did they do? They did A, B, C, D, E. Now, did you agree with 100% everything they did? Of course not. We don't raise robots here. We raise people that are going to go up there, they're going to negotiate, and they're going to do everything humanly possible to get through conservative principles. And I got to tell you, folks, I've been observing this. I was in the legislature, was in leadership in the legislature. What you three did, and your colleagues, was nothing short of raw, pure political courage. And so I want not to put you on the spot or anything, but you have so many, so I'm going to almost insist that you pick one. If you can pick one piece of legislation that was passed in the last session that you're proud of. That doesn't mean you're not proud of the others, but something that sticks out in your mind as being very, very proud. We'll start with you, Representative Deal.
Well, I think probably the thing that will have the biggest impact in the future is the tax bill that passed. You know, it was broad. It's, you know, income tax cuts.
Just pull it out.
Probably the tax bill we did, just because I think it'll have such a long-term impact with, for all the taxpayers. It's a tax cut for all Iowans, income tax cuts, inheritance tax, which is very important for farmers here in Iowa and small business people. And then there's a child care tax credit that'll be helpful to families, and I think that'll probably be it. But I'll say one thing though, I wanted to mention the first bill we did this year, because politically I think that one is the one that is paying benefits, which was the telling the schools that they have to be in person, at least offer that option. Politically, I think that one was just huge this year. So
thanks, Dave. I think there's a whole lot of parents across the state would agree with you.
Well, he took mine. Of course, Pat just goes, we shouldn't have let him go first.
No, you took both of ours.
I think he did. Who would have thought even at the beginning of session, we would be talking about masks? That was just a curveball that was thrown at us. And so I think we took a good stance on people's individual freedoms.
Yes.
When it came to the masks. I have just a real quick I have my friend Jorg over here. Please stand. He got his citizenship 2 years ago or 3?
Last year, 1 year.
1 year.
And I was so honored. He was there for my swearing in, so I'm very proud.
Yeah. I was an absolute puddle when they all started saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone that just became citizens, it just gave me goosebumps. And we have another individual from Wellsburg, Bernd. He is going to be sworn in when?
15th of September.
15th of September. So congratulations. Jeff Crawford says you're in like fling because you've got a mustache too.
Yep.
I said him before.
Mr. Speaker.
That's, oh boy, I got stuck going last. I thought if I sat here I'd get to go first and take all the good ones. But, so this is a tough question to answer, because every time I do one of these, whether it's with Jeff or do an interview, they say, what are the things you're most proud of? And there were so many things that if I just start rattling off, or I pick my favorite, first thing I'm gonna do is upset somebody because I didn't pick their favorite. But we did so many things this session. A perfect example, I point to this, Dave talked about the tax bill, for example. You didn't even bring it up, and I do this all the time. We eliminated the inheritance tax in that tax bill, Dave. I mean, maybe you said it and I wasn't listening, which is, you did? Shows what I think of Dave. But the point of it is, most years that is the winning issue, and that is all we would talk about when it came to taxes. Number one priority that I would point to, that I think these guys already said, would be getting the kids back in school. We heard from Iowans, and truthfully, there was at least 2 seats in the legislature that we not only won, but we defeated Democrats in, based on that being the driving issue in the election, that the choice should be left up to the parents whether or not in-person learning. We know the damage that was doing on students, whether it was from learning, their mental health, their social development, and so from that standpoint, I think we'd all agree that was quite a victory for us to be able to get done. And so when you ask, what do you think is going to happen when they go back to school this year? They're going to have to at least offer in person. That's this year, so that gives you some certainty.
We got the young lady up here, just did one of these, for those of you in the back, this young lady right here. You've got, we've had a year now, because you folks are in the 4th District, and you've had a year now, or a little under a year, to observe your new congressperson. So in a couple of sentences, so I'm going to make it, because I know you guys can go on for a long time to answer this, but in a couple of sentences, try to reduce down why Randy Feenstra needs to be reelected. And you wanted to start first? By God, we're going to start first. Why do we need Randy Feenstra back?
Well, this is an easy answer, but you're only giving a politician 2 sentences, so that you made it really hard on me. But I will tell you, this is what I'm most impressed about, is Randy is everywhere all over this district. If you just follow his Twitter, his Facebook, any of his accounts. He's everywhere. He goes across the district, and I think that's what Iowans expect in their elected officials, to see them, to be able to look in their eye and know that they didn't turn into Washington, D.C., and I don't think we have to worry about that with Randy, so that is what I would say.
Senator Sweeney.
I got to serve with Randy. He sat just 2 rows behind me. And we had an issue that came up with, I had someone from Grundy County, the auditor over there at Grundy County, with the voting laws that we had that we worked on a year ago. And she had lined out a few things, and she said, hey, have you guys thought about this? And then also the assessors. We had also the assessors weighing in. And I took that letter back to Randy and I said, hey, I think that they've got some good points here. And Randy took those and he looked and he said, you know what? This is a good idea. And when Randy was running, I always told that story. But you know what? It hasn't stopped. Randy is always listening. I got to walk with him around today in Iowa Falls, and just individuals that he had never met, he talked to them. He asked them great questions. Asked them how their businesses were, if they were thriving, how they were doing, how the PPP worked for them, and the entrepreneurial spirit that we had, that we talked about today. And so I really, really appreciate his fervor and his wanting to make Iowa work. So thank you, Randy, very much for everything you do.
Yeah, so I live in Story County, which for Randy is all the way down the farthest southeast corner of the district, and it's I'm sure it's a long drive from wherever you're coming from. But I'll tell you, it has voted Democrat the last number of cycles, but there are a lot of good Republicans there. And I'll tell you, I just was having a conversation with somebody who's not really political, but is very well known in Story County. And they were asking me questions about the new redistricting, you know, the maps that we're going to have to draw. And the comment was, that this person made was, geez, I sure hope we don't lose Randy, because, you know, he's doing such a great job. It was somebody with Iowa State. They were really super happy with the job that he was doing. So I think that speaks well for him, that he has reached out, and he is talking to those folks, and is making those contacts. So I think he definitely does need to get reelected.
Thanks to all 3 of you. Last final question, because we're going to do 2 of these panels. I keep looking at, Andy says I'm his boss. No, I assure you, I keep looking at him for when the cutoff sign here is. But we'll start again, since the speaker complained initially that I didn't start with him, so we'll start with him again. I was going to go with the net. You've done so much, seriously. We're proud of you. What's next? What's for next year? Give us a tiny sneak preview.
Well, Matt's here with the paper, so I'll probably give you a little different sneak preview than what maybe I would. I'm just kidding, Matt. I already offered to give you a sneak preview. Honestly, from me personally as speaker, and it was mentioned earlier, we have a special election coming up here. I know, we'll have time to work between now and between January, working on getting our policy developed. In the House, we'll get together, decide what our priorities are going to be. I think tax cuts are going to be a big part of that. We have a ton of money flowing into the state. But from my standpoint, the priority is going to be a special election in North Ankeny, and anything that anyone can do to be supportive of that effort. Keep in mind, the Democrats have spent on the candidate that's running again for, I think, the 3rd time in that seat. They have spent over $1 million to try to get her elected. So I don't think resources are going to be a problem for her in that race. And in the last election, we had to spend significant resources there. So my focus for the next month, leading up to redistricting, is going to be making sure that we maintain our 59-seat majority, and we do everything we can to send a message that our agenda that we ran on and we've implemented during this legislative session, Iowans support, and not just Iowans in rural Iowa, but Iowans in the suburbs and all across the state. So that is going to be my focus for the next month, and then we'll get to developing policy.
And I've avoided commentary, but let me just say this. That candidate, in the utter ultimate act of classlessness, was having a knockdown, drag-out, attack-oriented campaign speech before Representative Landon's funeral. That tells you just a little bit of the viciousness and the lack of anything to withhold whatever it takes to win. Senator Sweeney.
I've been traveling the state in making questions and touring about our water quality. And I got to go with Lakes Labs up in Okoboji. And it's amazing the things that I learned there. So I'm going to take that back to the Senate. I am the chair of the Natural Resources, first woman chair of the Senate for Natural Resources. And Representative Bacon is the counterpart over in the House. And I love working with him because at first the session, we sat down, we said, okay, what are our priorities? What do we need to be working on and what do we need to be focusing on? So working with Representative Bacon is absolutely awesome. I have to give my hat off to Senator Chuck Grassley. I called his office yesterday and he is putting forth a bill to block what the Proposition 12 is in California about livestock production. And that takes a lot of fortitude. So I'm going to be calling his office quite a bit with that because I was involved with that way back in 2011. So I really appreciate his leadership for that. I want to make sure that I said something about Senator Grassley. Wow, it took a lot of guts and I'm very, very proud of him for doing that.
And last but certainly not least, Representative Dio, what's up for next session?
Well, I just wanted to mention the budget, you know, because that's something that is something we have to deal with every year. And I've been there, this is what, this is my 15th session this last year, 16th coming up. Pat also, the two of us came in at the same time together. And the state budget right now is in the best shape that it's ever been in that entire time. And we have surpluses right now that we're going to find out the final numbers as we move into early September. What we ended up with at the 1st of July, it is tremendous. Actually, I think the amount we're going to have some reserves that are so large. There's going to be some pressure. I think to get to do something on property or on taxes again, whether it's property or income. I don't know what that's going to be, but I know that's going to be a discussion this next year because of all of the extra funds that we're going to have sitting there, and it's all because of what we've done for the last number of years in Governor Reynolds. And I just think that it's tremendous compared to where we were at when when the three of us were all there at the end of the Culver administration. We saw what it could look like on the other side, and that was a disaster.
Well, my message, we're going to call our next two up, but my message sincerely, the Republican Party of Iowa believes in you, we're proud of you, and I have a feeling so does Hardin County, so thank you.
Just real quick, I want to make a shameless plug for my fundraiser. September the 12th, it's a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we're going to have team roping again. And with that, the last two times it got rained out, so we're having it at the Equine Center up at Ellsworth College. So we've already got the steers lined up, we've already got the barbecue lined up, and I'm very, very fortunate that Governor Reynolds is going to be our guest stars person to come, and so I'm really excited about that. Marionette says she's going to try to, if she's not in session, and Randy did too. They said that they would come up to the team roping, the barn bash. So I really just wholeheartedly hope that you guys can be able to carve out some time and come. So thank you.
Again, that's on September 12th. There are flyers on your table there that we just have a lot of fun. It's the most different kind of fundraiser that you've ever been to. So we hope you enjoy that. My part of the, I'm Dave Sweeney. I'm co-chair of the Hardin County Central Committee. And it's been my privilege to do that since early this spring, I think it was. And when we had our election of officers, I decided I wanted to step up and take a more active role than I had. My role today would be to introduce the courthouse officials that are here today. But first, I wanted to mention, we had a proper introduction for Andy Cable. He was the first one to the microphone. But I'd also like to accentuate the fact that he is probably the key organizer of this event each year. And while we've been having meetings for 2 months to get organized for this event, I know that Andy's on the phone every night, and this thing, however, it just seems to come together with such grace, and I want to thank Andy Cable for his role, as well as all of the volunteers here that helped put this together tonight. Would you give them a round of applause? Again, I wanted to talk about our courthouse. Of course, the whole workforce in the county courthouse has been doing a great job over the last year. In light of the COVID situation, for a long period of time, you could only go into the courthouse by appointment. If you haven't recognized it already, the courthouse is now open for foot traffic, everything except for the driver's license station. And that was one of those things that we learned from the COVID crisis, was that that seemed to work better by appointment. If you make an appointment ahead of time, you'll go to the driver's license station and get right in. You won't be waiting in line and take your chances on a long wait. So I went to the county website and just going in order of those. I'm going to introduce the elected officials that service in the county courthouse. And every one of them is sort of timid and shy, but I guarantee you that every one of them does a fantastic job, and I want them to stand, put your hand in the air, and be recognized. I want you all to get to know them, visit with them either tonight or when you go to the courthouse. They work very, very hard, and things run quite smoothly in our Hardin County courthouse. First of all, yeah, I'll just give them a hand. Last fall, Jolene Peters became the county auditor, and as I discovered when we got involved in her campaign, that the auditor is actually the hub of everything that goes on in the courthouse. And Paul Pate, she'll be serving as the Director of Elections for the county. I can assure you that she's going to be great to work with, and because I know her personally, and I think she's just terrific. BJ Hoffman's not here tonight, but BJ is the chairman of the county supervisors, and I'd like to recognize him. Lance Granzo is here. Lance, could you stand? Is he still here? Is he around the corner? He's working. He's part of our Sweet Corn crew. If you can get him, I would like you to know Lance has been working for a number of years as a county supervisor. Also, Renee McClellan serves as the vice chair as the county supervisors. Is Renee here tonight? Okay, unfortunately she's not here. I know Daryl Meyer is absent, our county attorney. Lance, put your hand in the air. Lori Cadner is here, our recorder. Lori, thanks for helping volunteer and serving tonight, and all that you do on an annual basis. And Michelle Ackmeyer as our county treasurer. As she does each year, she serves every day and is doing a great job. The last introduction I'm going to make, because he has a couple of comments to make, probably reluctantly, but we have a, but he has agreed to do so. Dave McDaniels, our county sheriff, and just doing a great job. We have a couple of personal topics we'd like to have Dave talk about.
Well, I'll keep this short and sweet because I can assure you nobody planned on hearing me or wanted to hear me speak tonight. So we'll just touch up on a couple of quick things. Real quickly, though, I want to thank all the legislators that are here and across the state for the Back the Blue bill. Personally, I think for us, or me personally, and every officer across the state of Iowa, it spoke volumes about having the support at the state level for the Back the Blue. People always are talking about what's going on nationally. I'm a firm believer we are truly blessed to serve in Iowa. The citizens in Iowa still have the Midwest values, the appreciation that we receive from our citizens does not go unnoticed. But having the back of blue bill signed was a good confidence boost to everybody in law enforcement. So thank you all for doing it. I know I'm not going to speak on it dressed appropriately and done something with my hair, but apparently I should be a little bit more diligent about reading my emails. So I was asked to speak about the Second Amendment sanctuary. What that is a resolution. So I don't want to minimize it, but it's not something that changes the way we'll do our job in Hardin County. We'll still enforce all gun laws. We'll still do everything that we need to do within the accordance of the law. But what it does is basically makes a statement that we're not going to let the federal government or anybody infringe upon the citizens of Hardin County. To me, it's very simple and very basic. It's not political. It's simply the Constitution should be our guiding light, our guiding principle in everything that we do. And obviously, not everybody's on the same page with Dave McDaniel on that, but I'm making the effort. But I've said long before, the citizens of Hardin County are my priority. That's it. That's who elected me. Nothing from at the state or the federal level. If it doesn't benefit or directly improve things for Hardin County citizens, I'm going to be opposed to it. Plain and simple. And if 51% of the voters in Hardin County decide I'm not the right guy, I'm good with that too. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to bow down to somebody just simply because they're part of the federal government or whatever. That's not the way we operate. The Constitution, plain and simple, end of story. That's it. So I've had a lot of questions since that about how that affects us doing our job. It does not at all. We'll continue to enforce all the gun laws. The county attorney and I have visited. We'll continue to prosecute all gun laws or gun violations and that type of thing. So there's no major change coming, but it's just basically saying, the citizens of Hardin County are our priority, and we're not going to let anybody infringe upon their rights. So the other one I was talking about was the jail. Again, best interest Hardin County. We've had a little outing with the feds, Immigration Customs Enforcement specifically. As you know, we're a major hub for ICE detainees in the state of Iowa. And we still get along. We haven't totally separated, but they tried to implement a lot of things that would have been a significant dollar monetary increase to our budget, which ultimately would be to the citizens, without them willing to negotiate or increase the fees they pay us. What they wanted us to do wasn't practical, so I put a call out to some fellow sheriffs that I've gotten to know over the years, and without the ICE detainees, we've got just as many heads on beds, so the revenue's still coming into the jail. We're not paying out the money that ICE or Congress actually wanted us to. We get inspected annually, once a year. This past year, they were looking to do their 4th inspection on us. I think, and I'm not trying to make it political. Again, this is in the best interest of the citizens, but I believe some of the attempt was to make it miserable enough that jails would just step away from the detention centers or housing detainees. And to some extent it works, but I'm also not going to increase our expenditures by $150,000 on your backs as taxpayers and not offset those expenses with them stepping up and ponying up and putting some in the pot as well. So we still have a relationship with them. It's just a different type of relationship. We still got, we've entered a contract with the U.S. Marshals. We're holding them out for the U.S. Marshals. We're holding probably 20 to 30 on a daily basis from Webster County. And so we're still putting heads on beds. But there's a lot of rumor out there that this was a political move. It's not at all. If they're not going to bring us the numbers, it doesn't benefit us as taxpayers. So we just we maintain a relationship. So if things change around, we can still go jump back into the works with them. But we're not going to bow down to them or just do what they want because they want us to do it. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Sheriff. He does a fantastic job. Just a point that I've been extremely proud of, and I've led a lot of people at State Central Committee meetings know this over the years. The Hardin County Courthouse is 100% Republican. Has been 10 or 12 years from now, with one or two little hiccups in there. But we own it, and that's a tribute to you, all of you that get out and vote for it.
Jeff? Come back up for stage 2. Sheriff, I just want to tell you, in Cedar County, I'm a supervisor down there. And of course, we're right on the border of Johnson County. So we had everybody, every organic turnip farmer and take your guns person in our boardroom. And we passed it 5-0, so Cedar County is a sanctuary. But my question to them, and you could have heard a pin drop, is, would you all be, you don't want us to be a Second Amendment sanctuary, would all of you be here griping if we were going to try to be an illegal immigrant sanctuary county? Silence whatsoever. The progressive left is lying about that resolution. They're screaming foul as usual. It's good stuff. Cedar County did it. I'm really proud of sheriffs like you and my sheriff who are leading the way. That tells me you really do care about the people rather than political. Next, we've got 2 outstanding freshmen in the United States Congress. I'll tell you, sometimes I just lay awake and I just go, Congresswoman Miller makes, Congresswoman Miller makes, because I think Pelosi wanted that so bad. So bad she was going to do anything possible. I have had to deal with Jim Leach and then Dave Loebsack, the absent-minded professor who, albeit was nice, but just an absolute no. He gave great tours of the Capitol. And then now, the Republican chair in the state, I've got a Republican representative in Congress in the fullest sense of the word. So I'd like to bring up here my Congresswoman from the 2nd District, Mariannette Miller-Reed. And yes, I know Jim Leach is a Republican, but he didn't act like it the last 15 years.
That's why he's better looking. He's a constituent.
And then also, just a top-notch indulgence. If you get a chance, read Politico. They came out yesterday. I know it came out, and it's one of those deals where you could tell Politico was writing the piece. It wasn't anything in there that was a plant or anything like that. It was just a raw analysis of Randy Feenstra's first year. And everyone in D.C. is recognizing the leadership potential, the upward mobility within the system of Randy Feenstra. And I'll let the political article do the talking, but Randy is just doing an absolute top-notch job. I talk to folks in D.C. all the time. You can't believe the bragging that I hear from them, unbeknownst to these two and Ashley Hinson of the congressional team that we have. And by the way, we're going to get rid of Cindy Axtey. There were Democrats saying that they didn't want Miller Meeks to win. Okay? There were Democrats that finally said, but we're not going to stick up for you, Nancy Pelosi, and basically ignore the Constitution. There was one Democrat that didn't. One Democrat that didn't stand up for her state. And that was our only elected Democrat, Cindy Axtey. She turned her back on Mariannette, and more importantly, she turned her back on this state. So we're sending you 3 back with 4 next time. Randy, come on up, Congressman. I'm assuming you're both good with replacing the...
Oh my God.
We get mocked,
Tori, you're my inspiration. You're my inspiration. So, take off the cleats, put on your basketball shoes because I'm going to take you on.
Well, welcome to both of you. It's just terrific. And I'm just going to jump right into it. And, you know, even, I don't know how many times you've been up to Hardin County, but I know every Republican up here in Hardin County was following this charade the Democrats were putting on. I mean, it was a blatant, corrupt, sickening charade. Seriously, from just a personal point of view, just an Iowan, what was it like? How did you hang in there and tell us about staring Nancy in the eye and getting her to blink? Go ahead.
First of all, I had tremendous support. So my husband, Kurt Meigs, is my rock. So he is always my port in the storm. And from the time he called on a mountain on the Appalachian Trail to tell me to run for Congress again, because you all know I've done this before, till all the way through the contest, my family was there for me. Next was when people asked how they could help and what they could do, you all did it. I mean, when we asked people to contribute for legal expenses, you did. And by the way, we had the best constitutional lawyer in the country who's right here in Iowa, and that's Alan Austrian. When people asked what else they could do, and we said, sign a petition, you know, stop Pelosi still, people did. When we asked them to call the House Committee on Administration members, you all did. And then countless people, would tell me that they held me in their prayers. And I firmly believe God puts you where you're supposed to be for a reason. And had I won before, I might not have had the opportunity to be Annette Sweeney's roommate, who is a phenomenal senator, and it was a joy. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to serve with Randy as a senator and to serve now with him in Congress. So I think your prayers lifted me up, and they reminded me, most importantly, that it wasn't about me personally. And that's critically important. Nancy Pelosi wanted a vote and a seat. And I knew that I had to stand strong, to be pleasant, to be Iowa nice, to win over some Democrats so they wouldn't vote against me, not vote for a seat for Nancy Pelosi. It wasn't about me personally. It was about Iowa. It was about election law. It was about the hard votes that we took to make election law changes. It was about the state's authority under the Constitution, states' rights, and it was about the Constitution itself. So it was beyond me. And I'm going to tell you this, if we can't stand up for the Constitution, if we can't stand up for young people like Tori to have a chance at the American dream, we don't deserve to be here, and we don't deserve to be in Congress.
Congratulations. And we all know she won seriously by more than 6 votes. I saw that count was going on. We had one of those counts, and it was all blatant. And unfortunately, in the 2 counties that happened to have Democratic auditors, in those 2 counties, I've had 3 conversations with political folk in D.C. I love it when they start calling Iowa, because that means they're already assuming what we all want to happen, and that is we'll be first in the nation again. So it's a good thing, because they don't care about Jeff Kaufman. I'm a minnow. What they care about is the chair of of Iowa and the first in the nation. So I'm starting to get a lot of phone calls. And when I do, I get a lot of insight into what's going on out there. And in all seriousness, the political article that I'm suggesting you all read, because I know Randy never would, because that's just how he is. And he never asked me to say. In fact, I'm guessing he would rather I wouldn't. You know, what I'm hearing about you is just that the same thing that we're learning up here, and people that are just knowing you. I mean, you're humble. You're unassuming. When I say unassuming, I don't mean fade into the woodwork. I mean not out there blowing your own horn. And the constituent work and the level of meticulousness of the constituent work, which is always a reflection on how much he really, every politician can tell you they care. Okay? That's our job. But when you really see if they care, is the level at which they put forth the passion of the hundreds and hundreds of constituent work that comes their way. You're getting a reputation, Randy, you're getting a reputation. Tell us you're an unassuming, humble, seriously, Northwest Iowa guy. Tell them about the adjustment to the swamp, about the adjustment. What surprised you a lot, and what's building your faith back up again?
Well, how much do I owe you first? I mean, but first and foremost, I just do want to say that God is my foundation, and everything I do is through Him. And I've served with so many amazing people, and it's all the people I've served with, each one of you, that we're in this together as collective. I say that seriously, that, you know, I grew up as a small town kid at the time of 2000 in Hull, Iowa, and threw papers and worked at the bakery, but working on the farm. You know, we don't walk beans anymore, but I know Annette and I, we walked a lot of beans through hay. And we can relate to each other, and I think that's the big thing. So the big thing that was just shocking to me was we got there, January 3, whatever it was, and everything was locked down. I mean, everything was locked down. We couldn't go to restaurants. We had to wear masks. We had to vote with 15, 20 people at a time. And you just sat in your office and watched Zoom. I mean, Zoom all day, meetings all day. And it was just an incredible disconnect. And I feel bad for the citizens of the U.S. because there are some massive bills that were passed because we were all sort of locked in our rooms. We couldn't talk. We couldn't advocate, and we couldn't get people to D.C. to advocate on behalf of the people. And I thought that was just shocking, that polarization of what was happening. And, we are rural America, and yet it seemed like you had the East Coast and West Coast dictating everything that was going to happen.
And has there been anything in your years, in your time that you spent up to this point, I'm going to pivot to that question with you too, Marianne, is that's reestablished your faith. That, we get the majority, I can get something done here. I can actually, you've already, in the minority freshman, you've already gotten some legislation passed, which is unheard of from a freshman Republican in the minority. But give us some hope here that we can get something done at the congressional.
Well, first of all, the hope is working with a great person like Doc Meeks, Congressman Meeks. We work so closely together. But it's also trying to figure out, all right, where, being in the minority, you got to figure out who can I work with. And who can I work with? And frankly, you got to work with somebody on the other side of the aisle if you're going to get anything done in agriculture or anything done in biofuels and things like that. So, I've figured it out saying, all right, Congresswoman Bustos across in Illinois, we're both biofuels people. All right, you might say it in word only, but let's get on a bill together. I'm going to force you to get on a bill to get with me and to get things done with biofuels, or the derecho amendment. We work together. We passed an amendment. We have this USDA that has a WHIP Plus program, meaning that if you have a catastrophic event, that there's some dollars there to help farmers. Well, we had the largest thunderstorm in U.S. history, most expensive thunderstorm in U.S. history, the derecho that came through. We could not access any of that money. So I went to Axe and I said, hey, can you help me out? And she just sort of went, what are we talking about here? I mean, it was clueless. And so then when I went, and I said, all right, who can help me get this thing passed? And we found some Democrats, and you know who I found? I found Democrats in California that had smoked grapes. And they said, wait a minute, we have the same issue. You had derecho, we had smoked grapes issue that we can't use. I said, well, let's partner up. Let's get this thing done. And that's how it went. So there is some hope in certain areas, but I tell you what, the great hope is that we take over the majority. That's what's going to happen.
Amen. Give this group some hope.
Well, I'm going to say that last Thursday I passed my 6th bill in the minority in 7 months. My predecessor passed 5 bills in 14 years. That's a fact. So, in the words of Senator Grassley, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Democrats. But seriously, I think what Randy's, having been in the legislature together, we know that part of what we do, and that's why it was so hard going in the middle of the pandemic. Because part of what we do is to be able to network, to be able to meet people on your own side, but also people on the other side. And the big stuff, we don't vote together. We're polar opposites. But when it comes to veterans, there are Democrats who are veterans. Most of my bills are veterans bills. The last one I passed was veterans and parks. So free lifetime passes for veterans, Gold Star family members, and active duty military to our national parks. Simple bill that passed unanimously. And so looking for ways in which you can work together. We have to have some achievements going in, at least, you definitely do in my district because it's a Democrat district, but even in Randy's district, we want to be able to show that we can execute. It's not enough to be the naysayers. We want to show that we can execute. Randy called himself the minnow. So I said, if Randy was the minnow, what did that make me? Probably the big mouth bass. But nonetheless, finding ways that we can work across the aisle in things that we can do, but then also trying to be your voice. And probably the most joyful things I did the first 3 months, I will tell you, was not fun. The contest ended right at the day before April Fool's, and I thought I was going to wake up and they were going to tell me April Fool's joke. But I found out that we have these little things in Congress like we did in the Senate called 1 minute and 5 minutes, and I could talk about whatever I wanted. And my first one was talking about Luka Garza breaking the point record at the University of Iowa basketball. Now, of course, I know nothing about basketball. Zero. Except I think there's 5 people on each team at a time on the court. I don't know, but all I know is he broke a point record. And his number is 55, and I was born in 55, so I did a 1 minute talking about Luka Garza. And then I just kept finding Iowans all through my district to highlight. And we have now 4 Olympians in my district, 4 Olympians. I've talked about 3 of them, the 4th I'll talk about when we go back. But I will tell you, there's nothing more pleasurable or joyful, really, and humbling than to be able to talk about the people in your district, in your state, and what they contribute and what they do and how they make our state great. That is phenomenal to be able to do that.
Congresswoman, we'll start with you, and then we'll take this question to you too, Congressman. If folks in this room, or any of the constituents that clearly you both love and more importantly respect in your districts, want to really make an impact, I mean, they got an idea. What is the single most important thing they can do to move that idea ahead, make sure it's heard by decision makers? Give them some hints, because I know we got some opinions in this room.
I have the same cell phone number I've always had. I have the same email address. Contact me. I will tell you that the impetus for a lot of the legislation I put forward and legislation that has not yet passed has been from constituents. And I'll give you an example. We have a bill that's called America's Children's Act. Now, the Democrats wanted to pass and did pass something called the Dreamers. Now, had it been what President Obama had done at $600,000 or what Donald Trump had done, President Trump had put forward a compromise with Speaker Pelosi, and it was about 1.6 million, 1.2 million Dreamers, people who had come to this country as children or infants, illegally with their parents, but had been raised and gone to school. Well, I found out from someone in Iowa City who owned a jewelry shop, came from the Netherlands, they've been here over 20 years, their child came at a very young age, so their legal status, legal immigrants, every single year they're applying for the green card lottery, and every single year they have not made it. Well, their son, who graduated, finished graduate school, undergrad at the U of I, graduate school at the University of Iowa, set up a startup biotech company, is being deported. Actually supposed to be deported next month. He's an American. He knows of no other country, he's here legally. And we're always told as Republicans we're anti-immigrant. Well, what better way to show we're not anti-immigrant? We're just anti-illegal immigration. We're anti the border crisis right now. We're anti-that. But to put forward a bill. So I found a Democrat colleague, and then I got approached by some other, they're called Improve the Dream, young people who are in this country, there's about 200,000 of them, who are here on legal status who are due to be deported. And I thought that was a travesty. So we put forward a bill. I think it'll pass. And what better way for us as Republicans to show we welcome you, we want you here, we don't care where you come from, but we want you to follow the rule of law, and we're going to help you if you follow the rule of law. So contact us, let us know, and then persevere, don't let it drop.
Randy,
Persistence. I'm the persistent, so if that doesn't tell you anything, persevere, persist.
Well, I'll just say this. You know, our founding fathers created the Constitution, and over 1.5 million people have lost their life fighting for that Constitution. We are the standard bearers. We're the protectors of our Constitution. That means that we all got to stand up. And I saw this past year. I saw that trying to get our schools open, where people were very vocal and said, enough's enough. I saw that with critical race theory and AIM saying, you know what, enough's enough. And sometimes we got to get involved. We got to get engaged. And we just can't occupy a chair. And You know what? I look at all this around us. The louder our voices are, that's how we get things done. I think of the Second Amendment, what's happening, right? We have to all be engaged, whether it be at the city level, at the county level, state level, federal level, because we collectively, we can make a difference. And like I said, it really comes down to our founding fathers and the Constitution that they gave us. And we are absolutely the protectors. And we've got to take that very seriously, and I know I do. And I'm sure each one of you do, and that's why we have to speak up.
And consider running for office. I've never met you, right? We've never talked. You would make a perfect candidate for school board. You would make a perfect candidate for school board. You would make a perfect candidate for school board. You don't have to have a Daniel Webster speech. You got to have a heart, an opinion, and everything else will fall in the line. Consider running for a local office. Look in the mirror tomorrow morning and see yourself in a slightly different light.
Amen, brother.
So, you come back next year, you're coming back in the majority. Let me be the first to say, you're coming back in the majority because crowds like this and enthusiasm like this, I'm seeing it all over the state, and I'm hearing it from other chairs, it's all over the country. If you're back, and you will be in the majority, Marionette, what's a couple of top priorities? I mean, boom, January, you're on it.
Lowering prescription drug prices.
For me, is I'm pro-life through Heartbeat Bill and doing everything possible to make sure that every life is can be lived.
The opposite way. In all seriousness, I know with the pressures you have, there are nights when you too do not sleep. I know that for sure for you because I've received text messages after midnight from you. And the sad thing is I've actually returned them. But what does, in all seriousness, with the administration we have right now, with the majorities we have, what keeps you up at night, Marianne, in regards to your political career?
Actually, I never worry about my political career. Whether it's 2 years or it's 10 years, I don't care. I want to make a difference while I'm there. I want to try to uphold the Constitution. I want to try to see that people have a chance at the American dream, that we're not over-regulated, that we don't have a tyrannical government, that we're not overtaxed. I see what's happening now. We've got a border crisis, we've got an economic crisis, we've got a Middle East crisis. And it reminds me of something that Will Rogers said, and if this is politically incorrect for you all, my mama did raise me not to talk about politics, religion, or sex in mixed companies, but I'm going to blow it. So Will Rogers said, some people learn by reading, some people learn by doing. And then there's the other group that's got to whiz on the electric fence and find out for themselves. How many times does the Democrat Party have to whiz on the electrical fence until they learn socialism doesn't work?
I bet they won't forget that imagery.
That's why we call it six-pack.
Congressman Feenstra, what keeps you, in all seriousness, what keeps you up at night?
Well, two things. Obviously, the overreach of the Constitution and what's happening there is scary, but also this out-of-control spending. I'm telling you people, this is my greatest fear when you see inflation. We just keep dumping more and more dollars into our nation. And that's why you have this secret tax called inflation. You're paying 6 to 10% more on everything you buy, right? It can't continue down this path. It literally can't. But I have people on the other side, they have no clue about economics, right? I teach economics, and I'm telling you, I'm fearful. I'm absolutely fearful where this is going, and we've got to get our budget under control. You know what? You listen to all our Iowa legislators in here. What did they do? They cut taxes. We have more money now than what we've ever had. We have a 99% spending limit, meaning that we're not going to spend more than we take in. And our economy is just gangbusters. You think we can learn something from Iowa, and that's what I'm pushing at the federal level, that we've got to learn.
Last question for both of you, because I know your constituents want to talk to you when we finish this. This is going to be kind of a general, slightly different. Marionette, you're from the 2nd District. traveled all the way up here to Hardin County. That says a lot about you and that you're thinking of your governing in terms of a state as opposed to just a district. What do you want the folks of the 4th District and Hardin County to remember about Marionette and her visit up here in August?
That I was Annette Sweeney's roommate. What I want them to remember is that you have someone from another part of the state who really appreciates what your legislators, the people you have sent to the Capitol, what work they have done for you. You could not ask for a better, stronger, more conservative group of legislators. Truly, what they accomplished this past session. And the ability for us to keep this seat in the 2nd District was because of the work that they have done the past 3 years in election integrity and what Secretary of State Paul Pate did. What they have done on life, constitutional carry, which did not get mentioned, that was interesting, but on Second Amendment, on life, on taxes, what your legislature has been able to do working with you is tremendous. And I'm just going to thank you all for sending Randy Feenstra to Congress with me. I could not work. He's humble. There aren't words. Randy is a phenomenal congressperson. And I liked your previous congressperson as well, too, but I'm serving with Randy. He is highly regarded, highly respected. He keeps his nose to the grindstone. He works hard. He's smart. He puts that into policy. He's not a braggart. He's not there to be on TV all the time, but I will tell you, there could not be a congressperson work harder for you every single day. So if you don't remember anything about me, remember that I appreciate the people you send to office.
I keep looking over there and seeing Polly Granzon, and I'm thinking back in 2004 in the House, and she's going to tell me, Jeff, you need to come in here and vote. So I still love you, Polly. So we're going to end as we should end with your congressperson, your Congressman Randy Feenstra. Randy, these are your votes. What do you have to say, Joe Paul?
First of all, I just want to say to my dear friend that we work so well together, and we've got a lot of things to do for our great state, and we take it very seriously. And Doc takes it so seriously. We talk all the time about what we can do for Iowa, how we can make it better, and working collaboratively. I just want to thank you so much for what you do. With each one of you, you know what? I grew up just like you. It's sometimes tough. You know, my family, my in-laws, you know, we're fighting right now with the cattle market, and it hurts. It really hurts. We're trying everything like ever to break up the Packers. But I just want to tell you that every day, I want to do everything I can to help the 4th District and make a difference and help the agricultural community, the producers, help Main Streets. We were just, Annette Sweeney and I, and we walked Iowa Falls together, and you know what, there's just great people that they're just trying to make a living. They're just trying to make an ends, and they don't want government entitlements. They just want to be free, and just like all of us, they want to live free. And that's what I want to bring out and say, you know what, to me, Second Amendment, First Amendment, the freedom of religion, the freedom of what we can say, the Constitution of what our forefathers gave us, we are the protectors, and I want to do that every single day when I'm in Congress. And again, I'm your voice. I take it very seriously. Thank you so much for letting me be in Congress and letting me work with you and be partners with you. We're all in this together.
Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and if you enjoyed your meal tonight, here's your chance to take home something enjoyed here. We do have some leftover food. We have a small loin bag for $2, a large loin bag for $5, a full cantaloupe for $3, sack for $3, and bags, okay. And sweet corn, we've got 5 dozen left, so $5 per dozen. So if you're interested, you can see the people up there, drop your money off at the back before you leave. As always, candidates will be hanging around a little while, give you a chance to ask questions personally. So good night, everybody, and thanks again for coming.